Joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show is none other than MLB insider from the worldwide leader in sports, Jeff Passan, back here on the program. How you doing, Jeff?
Excellent, Rich. How are you, buddy?
I am doing great. So, where do we stand here in one of the final weekends of June on the Shohei Ohtani front? Is the fact that the Angels being in the mix for the wild card right now and above 500 taking him off the trade table right now, Jeff?
Rich, I would love, as somebody who is in the middle of all of these transactions leading up to the trade deadline, to tell you that we're going to have a mega blockbuster deal at the deadline this year, and Shohei Ohtani is going to go to a contender, and everything's going to be right with the world. But why would the Los Angeles Angels at this point do that when everything that they have been working toward is sort of happening, like kind of happening? There's a great argument still to be made that, you know, you have to trade Shohei Ohtani, because if he leaves this offseason, all you get back is like the 70th pick in the draft. Like, it's not even good compensation. So the Angels are taking an enormous risk if they don't deal Ohtani. But their entire purpose for this season has been to convince him that Anaheim is a place where he wants to spend the rest of his career, because that's what his contract this offseason is going to be. It's going to be, 8 to 10, even maybe more years. It's going to be $500 to $600 million. And it's going to take him past his 40th birthday. And boy, if the Angels haven't done everything they possibly could, from calling up Zach Neto to calling up Ben Joyce to calling up Sam Bachman, all these younger guys who may not have been entirely ready, I don't know what more they could do, I suppose, aside from spend more in the offseason, but they were among the higher spending teams in the offseason too this year. So I think Artie Moreno, the owner there, wants to keep Shohei Ohtani around long term. The question is, does Shohei Ohtani believe that the Angels are the team that he's likeliest to win a World Series with, and where is that on his priority list?
Exactly, Jeff. That is the ultimate question, in the same way that we're coming off of the NBA draft, wondering what's going through Damian Lillard's mind for his future and how he feels about staying in Portland, a spot that I think we all know he loves to be there. He loves living there. I think he's comfortable living there. So what is Ohtani thinking? Like, what are his priorities? Just is it a spot that he likes to play in, and that he's not in a spot where there's 50 cameras in his face and 5 local newspapers and longtime listeners and first-time callers that are freaking out over an 0 for 4? Like, where, you know what I mean? Like, where does he stand on all that, you think?
I wish I could tell you. He does not speak publicly, and he's got a very, very small inner circle. But the context that I can give you is this. I was in Miami for the World Baseball Classic semifinals and finals, and I saw the look on his face, and I talked with teammates about the intensity that he was bringing to that tournament. And I think if you were to give him sodium pentothal and get the full truth out of him, he'd tell you that's the most fun he's had playing baseball on North American soil. And what was it? It was competition. It was winning. It was the ability to go out and do something for your country, yes, but do something where the games really feel like they matter. And games haven't mattered in Anaheim since 2014. It has been a full decade now of abject mediocrity from the Los Angeles Angels. And the fact that they have not built around Mike Trout and built around Shohei Ohtani, who for a while there were the 2 best players in baseball on the same team, and haven't been able to win, I think is an indictment on everyone who's been there. Like, you just can't do that. And when you have 30 miles up the road a team that's won its division for almost a decade straight now, that goes to the playoffs every year, that has a higher payroll in the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that also has more talent, frankly, if you're Ohtani, is that not the siren calling right there? Like saying, get out of Orange County while you can. Get to a place where you are likelier to go win a ring and you are likelier to bring that glory to your career. I think it comes down to this. Everyone's going to pay him, Rich, a ton of money, more money than he'll have any idea to do with. How does he weigh winning versus comfort? Because he's got comfort with the Angels. I'm just not sure he's going to have the winning.
Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Last one for you on this. So is it the next 3 weeks? Is that the crux of it? That if the Angels go through, say, a swoon similar to the one that cost Joe Madden his job last year, that would knock them from their current perch in the standings, would that spark a ton of calls to the Angels, or maybe they're making them? Like, what do you got?
I think there are going to be a ton of calls regardless.
Okay.
I don't foresee the Angels losing 14 straight again. I mean, I know they've lost two in a row, and
right.
For a couple of days they were ahead of the Houston Astros in the standings. But if you look at the American League right now, what a fascinating race we've got going on. The Minnesota Twins are as mediocre gets, but they play in the American League Central, which is a tire fire of a division, and the team that wins is probably going to be around 500. Then you have the Texas Rangers out west, and you can make an argument that the Rangers, are, if not the best team in baseball, they're certainly among the top 5. And then the Tampa Bay Rays out east, and I'm not sure they're going to give up their perch atop the AL East. But after that, and after Baltimore in the wild card standings, you've got the Astros at 41-34, the Yankees at 41-34, the Angels at 41-35, and the Blue Jays at 41-35, and the Red Sox and Mariners and Guardians are lurking around as well. But it's just a muddled situation right now. And so if you ask me, what are the Angels going to do? I think the Angels are going to buy. I don't think they're selling. I think they are going out, and they're going to be as aggressive as they possibly can, because they want Ohtani to know that building winners is important here, and getting you to the postseason is of the utmost import.
Jeff Passan of ESPN here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the A's. It feels like it's a foregone conclusion, and we've seen this movie before when Commissioner Manfred basically came out and talked about the fans that showed up for that protest night. His thoughts on it was just like, well, essentially, it's great to see fans there. At least it brought an average Major League Baseball audience to the stadium, as if the A's fans are not responding to the product that's been put out there on the field. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, he and the owners, they want this thing to happen in Vegas, period, end of story, right? I mean, like, this is done, Jeff, right? Or no?
It is done. No, it's done. And what Rob Manfred said that day, I thought was the most tone-deaf thing he said since he told Carl Ravitch that the World Series trophy is a piece of metal. And he admitted that he regrets doing that, and putting Rob Manfred in front of a live microphone is always a journey. You just never know what's going to come out of his mouth, and he gets very defensive. And I think in this situation, his defensiveness shown in the worst way imaginable, which is that he was talking down to the fans. And that's really unfortunate, because I think you hit the nail on the head. Oakland fans are good fans. They just have a stadium that should be condemned, and an owner who has zero interest in putting a winning product on the field. And it's a shame that the owner doesn't take the same approach as his front office, because Billy Beane and David Force, they were among the only executives out there, and certainly the only ones in a market their size, or at least a revenue streams of their size, who never went full tank. Like, they just didn't do it. It offended them. It offended their sensibilities. But John Fisher made it impossible to do otherwise, because he, as the owner, demanded that these guys get traded. It's Major League. It's a movie come to life,
yes.
Rich. And the movie Major League is a comedy, and so are the Oakland A's.
Oh, wow. Because that is the perfect analogy. It's when Manfred said what he said, it made me think like he was rooting about messing with Jobu's rum because Rachel Phelps deserves to go to Vegas. Like that's the way it felt. Honestly, and when I heard that, I'm like, this thing's done. Because I was kind of rooting in a way for a sort of fan-based grassroots movement that would lead to to continue a movie, a Moneyball type run that would blow things up in a way that, say, the Super League got blown up by fans and in Europe where baseball's playing a marquee game this weekend. But that as soon as I heard Manfred say that, I'm like, this is over. This is a fan base that he's no longer willing to, or up for addressing. And then in terms of him saying he regretted something, you're referring to the Time magazine interview that he had that posted this week. What did you make of him saying that he regretted the way he handled the Houston cheating situation, and that he would have approached it without giving player immunity this time around? What'd you make of that one, Jeff?
I think it's taken Rob Manfred 4 years to get to the place where most of the people throughout the game were to begin with. I mean, you remember the comments of players going into that spring after the Athletic story dropped, and this was, the punishment comes down and players are given immunity, and all of a sudden it's like, what? Jeff Luhnow, who was the Astros GM, was in charge of baseball operations, so I understand why he got fired. And A.J. Hinch was the manager, and his job is to run the clubhouse. So I understand why he got fired. But let's be abundantly clear about something. The players are the ones who came up with and implemented the cheating scheme. And so for the players to get off scot-free because they, ostensibly were going to give information, when in reality the information that MLB got was not a whole lot different than what was in the original story. I think it reflected awfully poorly on Manfred, and it looked like the players got away with the crime, and they did. Like, they absolutely did.
Jeff Passan here on the Rich Eisen Show. I think the rule changes have really worked out. I mean, you got a left-handed hitter, and Arias hitting 400. The pitch clock is, to me, I don't even notice it anymore. I'm digging it. I'm liking it. What's next? Now, I'm sure they're on a roll right now. They're like, okay, these rule changes are great. What's next? Is it making the umpires robots? Literally, not figuratively. What do you got for me?
I appreciate how Major League Baseball is approaching automated balls and strikes or robot umpires. Mm-hmm. They're not looking at what happened and what the consequences of the pitch clock and banning shifts and the larger bases are, and saying, you know what, we're feeling ourselves. Like, we're gonna go out and do whatever. No, they're being very judicious about their approach and very scientific, honestly, about it. And they're doing studies on ABS and trying to see what the consequences are, because they want to really thread a needle if they possibly can. It's not just getting balls and strikes right by using the automated system, Rich. What they'd like to do is use the automated system to change the game. And by change the game, I mean, they want to get rid of strikeouts. Not completely eradicate them, but strikeouts have become problematic in terms of the pace of the game, in terms of the action, in terms of balls in play. And they're hoping that somehow they can leverage this system into having fewer strikeouts. Now, it's interesting what they're doing. They are running an A/B test in the minor leagues right now. 3 days of the week, they're going fully automated balls and strikes. Like, it's just very simple. The umpire wears an earpiece, and in less than half a second after the pitch is delivered, in his ear, he hears either ball or strike, and he makes the call. The other 3 days of the week, though, the umpires are calling the games, and players are allowed to have challenges. And there are 3 challenges per team per game, and you maintain your challenge if it is successful. And I think the likelier outcome in the big leagues is some kind of a challenge system. What's interesting to me is the players who challenge aren't particularly successful. Last I checked, it was under 50% that they were getting it right when they challenged.
Challenging a ball or a strike, Jeff? So a pitch is made and it might be an inch outside or an appropriate strike call, and you're allowed to challenge a ball and strike under this test? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly right.
Wow.
And it is a smooth and seamless system.
It is. Okay.
It's done, Rich. The whole operation takes 7-8 seconds. Everyone. Well, it's simple. You tap your head, right? You tap your head for a challenge. So the three people who can challenge are the pitcher, the catcher, and the batter. And when you tap your head, everyone turns to the scoreboard and to the video board, and immediately pops up a graphical representation of the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand and toward the strike zone, and you see exactly where it lands.
Just like Hawkeye in tennis? Like Hawkeye in tennis?
It's precise. It's literally Hawkeye. It's the exact same system that they're using, yes.
Huh. And that's 3 times an at-bat or 3 times a game? 3 times a game?
3 times a game, yes.
So a manager has no choice? I mean, what if a guy just says, screw it, I'm tapping my helmet, and the manager could be like, we got to wait till the 7th, 8th, 9th inning.
Yep. Manager has no say in it, and I was just going to say that, the game theory part of this is interesting, too. Do you potentially blow a challenge in the first inning? If there's a borderline pitch on a 0-0 count or a 2-0 count or a 3-0 count, do you use it then? There are all sorts of elements that the players have to keep in mind, and they have to be engaged enough with the game and the situation to understand what a proper time is. You can't just go challenging willy-nilly, because if you give up your challenges and you don't have any in the later innings with a true leverage pitch, then all of a sudden you put your team in a hole. But
that's if the umpires are the humans who are calling it, not the robot, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. This is you can't challenge the robot, because the robot's quote unquote never wrong.
Well, robots are taking over the world, Jeff.
Of course.
So
yeah, we need a little AI in baseball, right?
AI MLB insider Jeff Passan. I'm looking forward to seeing your coverage of the London game on ESPN at 10 Eastern. 12 hours of coverage on Sunday, including the London post-game show, the Golden Spikes Award in baseball tonight, Sunday night countdown. Thanks for the call here, Jeff. Greatly appreciate it.
We're a baseball network, Rich. What can I say?
I love it. That's at Jeff Passan. Must follow on Twitter and Instagram as well, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.